Well, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another segment of Adam Interviews. We have had the great privilege of talking with some really wonderful and insightful people in our area. We had a musician the first week we did this. We had Katie Eberts, and we haven't had one since. And so I'm very happy to bring music back into the mix here. Unfortunately, it's under some sad circumstances. Victor Antonetti Sr. passed away, and many in the music community adored him and his music and his entire family. And they have brought so much life to our community. So I'm very happy that we get to at least talk about his legacy. And to help me do that today, we have his son, Victor Antonetti Jr. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And I guess why don't we just start off, how are you holding up?
It's tough. It's been really tough. Seeing a lot of family members and musicians and, unfortunately, we still have obligations as a band. So, performing has been really tough. Yesterday was my birthday, first birthday without him. So it was tough.
I bet. He was only 77 years old, and his story is one that speaks to the American story in a way. If you could kind of walk us back to 1948 and then when he moved here in 1956, why don't you walk us through that time?
Wow. So my dad and my grandfather, I mean, it's funny as we're clearing out, some things, and, I see his first shoebox that he made, and, it still has 25 cents on it. And when you put, just hearing about those stories, hearing about things in Puerto Rico, he was a great carpenter, very passionate about music. When he moved here, he started playing in one of his first groups at 14, and he always had a passion for the music. It's his dedication and his discipline has been installed in all of us. All of us, meaning my brothers. My daughter. He's always been a motivator, and it's just coming from Puerto Rico here, he's always had, again, a passion for the music, and yeah, we're definitely grateful for him.
What was it like growing up in his household? Was there music all over the place?
Yeah. So we had, we lived on Campbell Street, so we lived on the west side of the city, and he had a hall, which was huge. I mean, I call it a hall, but it was a practice room, and all the musicians would come there. My dad brought a lot of famous people now, like Tito Puente, Ray Barretto. They would all come to my house at 2 a.m, and we would jam to like 4 and 5 and 6. And, my brothers and I were constantly, practicing. And it's funny that you say that, because for my daughter, Isabella, when people come to my house, or when they used to come to my house, they would hear Isa singing in the room like all day. And they would basically be like, "Is this all day?" I'm like, "Yeah, all day." Like, yeah, we're just so used to it, right? So I guess the heroes here would be, Isa's mom, my mom, that had to deal with that all day. And it was, it would always be drumming and playing and stuff like that. So, yeah, a lot of great memories, a lot of great musicians that passed through, through the Campbell Street. I still hear stories today. Oh my God, I remember when you guys used to jam and, do all that thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't think about this, but when I interviewed Gap Mangione, he and Chuck had the same experience where his dad, I think, owned a nightclub or something. He was very affiliated, and they would come over afterwards and play and talk about the best school you could potentially go to.
Yeah, there was a piano player named Sonny Bravo, which gave me my first arranging lesson. As the guys were jamming in the back room, he was in my room, teaching me arranging and harmonizations and things like that. So, yeah, definitely a great school. And, you can be a great musician, right? Learning school, learning reading, learning, theory and stuff like that. But to apply that to jam with musicians live, that's a bigger school there.
Oh, yeah. It's like when no one gets a better education than when you do gig stuff too, when you just have to play for hours and hours. And so I was reading, he kind of brought Cuban music over, but then it developed into jazz and other genres. How did that happen?
Yeah, so, Afro-Cuban music is basically, from Cuba, right? So we came to the United States, and in New York City, they influenced the European, the piano, the jazz, the horns, and kind of incorporated what we today call salsa today. So, being one of the first groups of salsa groups in Rochester, my uncle, Mike, had La Muralla, and then my dad had orchestra Antonetti, and they were almost like rivals. One band would play over here, the other band would play there, and then they'd switch on and off. So it was great. And yeah, we didn't have any Latin horn players back at the, in those days, according to my dad and my uncle. So we would go to Eastman School of Music, or they would, and get, trumpet players from there, and they just loved the music. And, we just celebrated 55 years of the orchestra this year.
And what's the name of the orchestra again?
Orchestra Antonetti.
Antonetti.
Yeah.
And so how many members are there?
13 members.
Wow.
We have 2 trumpets, 2 bones, a baritone sax, 3 percussion, piano, bass, 3 singers. And yeah, sometimes we'll have a, full big band. We did the celebration at Innovative Theater. We had 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, and 4 saxes. So we did a lot of big band stuff, which was great too.
And where can people see you?
We're mostly in upstate New York. We play a lot in town. We just did the Fairport, the Parrington Festival. We'll be at the State Fair this coming weekend on August 31st. And we have other dates. We do a lot of private. This is the busiest time for us because of the concerts and a lot of the festivals that go on. We do a lot of the Puerto Rican Festival. We do, the Jazz Festival. We do a lot of things around. So you can go on to orchestraantonetti.com. We have all the dates there. And we're just glad to continue, his legacy and continue to perform, music that we love, which is, salsa, which is incorporated with jazz, and we just love it.
It's funny, when we talk about living out someone's legacy, we often think about the kindness that someone brings in all of that. What's wonderful about your father's legacy is you can actually hear it.
Yeah.
And we can be a part of it.
Yeah. We have conversations with musicians, and, things have gone, slightly downhill as far as, people trying to sell CDs and things like that. But at this point, it seems like we're doing music for history, right? So once you put things on YouTube or Spotify, it'll always be there. So.
No, that's great. And then when Buena Vista Social Club came out in 96, I think, I can't remember exactly, did that trigger more interest in the orchestra that you can remember?
No, we've always been playing since the 70s. We've always had the passion. The fact that the Buena Vista Social Club with the Cuban music, the fact that they're doing the Broadway, that's been a great hit. And the actual thing with that I'm proud of that Broadway show is it's live music from beginning to end. So normally, Broadway shows, you have your backline orchestra and you have a lot of things that are pre-recorded, but this is fully live from beginning to end, and the musicians are amazing. And I'm glad that, my daughters have been a part of that.
Oh, you blew it. I was going to ask you if you had any connections to the musical.
Sorry.
All right. So your daughter, Isa, Mendon High School graduate. Before we talk about her experience within Buena Vista, talk about the road from high school to the Broadway stage for her.
So, Isa's always been involved in music. All of my family, my other son too, Alex. And Isa's just always been, that was her dream, I mean, I have videos of her at, 6 months, about a year and a half, singing on videos in key, and she's always had the passion for that. In high school, she did Sister Act. She was the lead role there. She was part of the Chicago. In high school, she did off-Broadway. She did Evita in New York City. So she was there for I believe it was 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and we did homeschooling with her. But she was actually one of the youngest on off Broadway with Evita. She did a lot of auditions. She actually did the audition with. She got to meet Steven Spielberg and her mom, and they did the audition for West Side Story.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she didn't get picked for that, but it was a great experience for her. She also did the audition for Mamma Mia, and she was very close to being chosen, but she was going to college and they wanted someone closer. So she was really upset. One day we can bring her, I'll let her explain that story, but she was really upset that she didn't get that. She really wanted that role. And Buena Vista Social Club came around. She was able to audition. They loved her. She did another audition and she got chosen. That was, she's, I can't speak for her, but I know she loves it. She's and to be young Omara, so you have Omara, which is the actual lead role, but Isa being young Omara has actual more parts than actual Omara. So a lot of people are like, well, she's the lead in this, and she got unofficially nominated by the New York Times, and I think by Houston Times as well, for the Tony Awards. But I found out that the Tonys never nominate the same person or the same two people from the same play for the same role.
Oh.
So Omara, obviously being biased here, right?
Yeah.
But Omara, she's the headliner. She's the show, right? Here's her picture on the cover, and so she was chosen and she won. So for me, it's like, man, Isa definitely would have won that,
Yeah, but the musical won several, and
they won,
she's part of that.
Yeah, they won 6, I believe. They were nominated for 10. It's just an amazing cast, an amazing play. Jennifer Lopez, which went, her mom, lucky mom, right? She got to sit next to Jennifer Lopez, and she's rubbing her shoulder when her mom's crying when he says, singing, and she loved it and said she was going to come back and bring her, her mom and family members. And Lin, which he's one of the executive, Lin-Manuel, that wrote, In the Heights, and he wrote Hamilton. He made a comment that was just mind-blowing for me, for someone with that experience to say that this is his 3rd time going. He brought his family, and they were sitting in the mezzanine, and to actually write and tag Isabella to say Isabella is phenomenal. Like, that alone for us is, it's, I don't know, what can you say? You can't keep on.
No, I mean, it's a parent's dream. It's a parent's dream. Did your dad get to truly absorb this experience before he passed?
No, he didn't. She sent a text this week, that she was basically in tears and kind of crying, and said that she sung one of the solo pieces that she sings, that she sung it for him, and that she knows that he was able to hear her. And that was emotional for her mom and I when we got the text. And but he definitely heard her.
Yeah. It's an extension of his influence, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it just seems like it's a natural progression for him to bring music over here, put it in your life, and then you and the rest of her family brought it to her, right?
Yeah, definitely.
It's incredible. What was that like to go from a couple wonderful auditions where she just missed the cut to actually seeing her on the Broadway stage for you?
It's amazing. It's a proud moment, and it's a testament of her hard work. The fact that you got a lot of no's, but the one that she did get the yes, for me, it's a lead role. For me, and just the whole experience that she's having there is amazing. And we're the whole family is extremely proud of her, and we're always texting her and making sure she's okay, living in New York City and things like that. Did you get home? Did you eat? Doing that parent.
Yeah, because you still got to be a parent.
Yeah,
So going back to just Afro Cuban music in general, what is it about it that makes it so magic? Because here I am. I remember in high school when Buena Vista Social Club came out, I'm listening to the Paul Simons. I'm listening to, I wasn't the coolest kid, but it was like, and some even Irish music. And that came out and it knocked my socks off. And to this day, I can't even tell you why, but I probably listen to that once a month. And it's just, there's something about it. What is it about that music?
It's just the rhythm. It's the rhythm. It's just something that, when you start listening, when I was playing in jazz band, I went to School of the Arts and we had a big, jazz band, and I'm playing rhythms on some toy congas that they had there, and the director's like, oh my God, we have to include this now, so they started getting charts to incorporate the Latin beats. Look at the Gloria Estefan when she came out with the conga and all that, like that was a phenomenon, right? So I think it's something infectious of the beat, of the Afro-Cuban rhythms, and people love it. I mean, Earth, Wind and Fire back in the 60s, they incorporated some congas and drumming and things like that. So it's always been there. It's just, now it's more noticeable when people are actually, paying attention to it.
Have you had the opportunity to go to Cuba and play or just to visit?
No, I actually, it's funny you say that. The COVID happened, and I was supposed to leave March 24th, and it was March 10th when they closed the border, so I never got the opportunity to go. My dad did get the opportunity to go to Cuba. Just, the whole musical experience there, I've been dying to go personally, so that's definitely a bucket list trip.
I would hope so. That is... let me travel along when you do. I would love to do a story about that kind of homecoming, if you will. Do you still have family there that you know of?
No, I don't have any family. I was born in Puerto Rico, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I have tons of friends that are Cuban, and we talk about music all the time.
So did your dad have any? Because obviously he really. There was a lot of Cuban roots in Buena Vista. Is there any connection there besides the music? Any?
No, just the music.
Wow.
That's it.
That's amazing. And I'm guessing, have you been back to Puerto Rico?
Oh, yeah. We go 3-4 times a year.
Yeah. How's that?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, the music, it's amazing. There's so many, how would I say, towns, we have, Rondecoy, we have, Pittsburgh, we have, Geneva, we have, every town has a festival.
Yeah.
So it used to be 10 days. Now some of them are still 10, but there's some that are 3, and musicians are playing all over the world.
Yeah, that's. Do you ever go down and play in Puerto Rico at all, or really?
We've gone and played. We've traveled internationally. The band has played in Peru. We've played in Ecuador. So my brother, which played with the Willie Colon Orchestra, and he's done South American tours, and it's a big difference, when you come, because they're all Latinos there, right? So you're playing in stadiums with over 100,000 people. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, the energy must be incredible. It must be incredible. And what were your influences besides your father and the people who kind of came around? Who would you say your musical influences were?
Latin music was a gentleman named Papo Luca, he's still alive, but he's not playing anymore due to diabetes and things like that. Eddie Palmieri, which just passed, was a big influence. On the jazz side, you got Art Blakey, Art Tatum, you got people like that were definitely an influence. We're musicians. We love all kinds of music. Jazz, rock, country, pop. As a musician, you enjoy that. I've played in R&B groups. I've played in jazz groups and things like that. So we're definitely first a musician, and then we bring our roots, we bring our culture, and I think that that gives it that different flair, a different flavor.
Yeah, no, it's the confluence of genres that it really comes together in that area. You see it from a lot of the Caribbean countries, actually, I think. And where would people start if someone were to say, give me 2 or 3 albums if I wanted to kind of jump into this line of music? What would you say?
I would say to definitely listen to Tito Puente, the mambo, because that he started the mambo in New York City. A lot of big band stuff. Eddie Palmieri is a great person to listen to. You have Mongo Santa Maria, was more on the jazzy side, a percussionist. And it just basically builds from there. Willie Colon, Fania All-Stars, that they started incorporating more of, the Latin music along with the jazzier side. So Ray Barretto, which is one of my favorites. If there's an album, it's called Reconstruction. He had to get his hand operated, and so it's a picture of him with his hand being operated on top of a conga. But just the arrangements on that album, they're really jazzy, and it has the salsa feel, and that's a great album. So if anyone gets a chance to listen to Ray Barretto, it's called Reconstruction. You won't be disappointed.
Well, I think I know what I'm going to be doing on the ride home tonight, diving into that. And what I find interesting about orchestras like yours, how many members there are. And you hear about solo artists going out having trouble making it, and it's just them. I'm always amazed that you can have so many people in a band. How do you make it work?
Yeah, I think it's, the love of the music, first of all. And I mean, I have members that have been in the band for 30 years, 35 years.
Wow.
Like they just love it. I mean, they're like, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do. I wish that we could play more. But that's with any, I have friends in Puerto Rico that used to play 29, 30 times a month, and now they play maybe 5 or 6 times a month. Right. So things have definitely changed, but it's just, the love of the music.
It has to be. I mean, it's just to keep something together with that many people. So, I mean, like going back to Paul Simon and Garth, they couldn't keep 2 people together. Yeah. You're keeping an entire band together. And when it comes to your dad, was he playing up until recently? When did he have to stop?
Yeah, he's always played. He's always been a percussionist. He picked up the trumpet, played the trumpet for a lot of years. And then because of work, he stopped playing with the band, but he would always show up, always with a guido, which it's made out of, I want to say, almost looks like eggplant. Right. And, he would always come with his guido. He would always come on stage, and he'd stay in that corner and he'd play. When we have a lot of, family reunions and picnics, he's always playing the congas. And, we have jam sessions. We were able to play for him when he was home. My brothers and I and a couple of other musicians got together and gave him a little concert in the dining room. And he was able to hear that. And, that was emotional, but it was great to play for him.
Yeah, that's impressive. And just so I know, go over your own musicianship. What did you start playing, and how did your music evolve, and then eventually at Eastman?
So I started playing when I was about 4 or 5 years old. The same thing, playing percussion, and then from there used to be Spinners music used to be on Dewey Avenue, and there was a professor named Professor Faga. He was a classical teacher for piano, and I still remember those days because I would play wrong notes. He would hit me with a pencil.
One of those.
Yeah, one of those professors. But but he was great, and just playing with the band and always hearing the band rehearsing. There's piano players that live in New York City that travel the world and played, and it was funny because one of the piano players used to live in Buffalo, and my dad would bring, and he would stay over the weekend, and they would practice, and we have had conversations. He goes, man, I used to remember we used to practice, and then the next day in the morning, I would hear you playing the same thing that I was playing the night before.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting.
So music was always around. And then from there, I went to School of the Arts. I started, my dad would always, try to entice us. And he was like, well, if you can do an arrangement, I'll buy you a car. And, I did 4 arrangements.
Did you get the car?
Yeah, I got the car.
Nice. Very good.
But, he would always encourage us to keep on practicing and playing. And then after that, it just, we did it on our own, right? It was just for the love of the music. And then you get together with other great musicians and you keep it going from there.
That's great. And so what's your instrument of choice? What do you gravitate towards?
Piano. That's my main instrument now, but definitely, the drums is that's where you feel it, right? So
yeah,
I started in drums. We all started in drums and congas and timbales and things like that, and then the piano. I just love because you have the whole band right in front of you on the piano, right? You can play everything and play what you want them to do and things like that. So
that's so true. What's that Billy Joel line? The piano sounds like a carnival. It can be
definitely.
It can be everything.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it go from here for you? Where do you see your career taking you from here?
Just to continue the legacy, to continue to record. Like I said, for me now it's history, right? It's something that no one can ever take away from you. We are, we've played internationally, but the band is just with the internet and social media. There's so many people that know of Orchestra Antonetti now, right? So it's good for us, for the city of Rochester, the way that I feel. Right, for being upstate New York, to have a Latin orchestra. And we back up a lot of artists. We've backed up over 60 artists. Wow. And a lot of times when you mention Rochester, they'll say, yeah, I've heard of Orchestra Antonetti. That's who I want to back me up. So that's always an honor for us to hear when we get phone calls. And just to continue, like I said, the legacy, to continue to record and give great music.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry it's under these circumstances, but I'm very privileged to help relay your father's legacy.
Thank you. I truly appreciate that. I know he'd probably be right here and bragging about all his kids and granddaughters and everyone that plays. He was able to get a key from the city, from the mayor.
Yeah, that's right.
So that was great to see. I hate that it was their own circumstances, but he definitely was able to acknowledge, what was given to him. So
well deserved. Well deserved. The whole family. Just such an honor to have everyone here. So we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Victor Antonetti, thank you so much. All right, and thank you for watching. We are going to have more interviews coming up in just a little bit later this week, so stay tuned for all of that. And I want to thank the Antonetti family for being so open and talking with us today. Everyone out there, take care. Talk soon.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.